Hello.
Hey.
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two Girls, One Ghost.
And we're remembering to look at the cameras and not at ourselves in the screen.
What does that say about us?
It's like on FaceTime when you can clearly tell that someone's looking at themselves instead of on you. Yeah.
I feel more comfortable looking at myself, though.
It's like just a check to see that everything's working. I don't know.
That you're
that
being
FaceTime's
human,
working.
That you're humaning. You're humaning well.
That you don't. Yeah, you haven't morphed into a lizard person yet.
We are your ghostesses. That is Corinne.
Hi.
And I'm Sabrina. And if you're one of our listeners who only listens to Encounters, we love you. That's okay. But you may have missed our studio reveal. So
we're sitting somewhere pretty. La la.
Someone told us that our Ave Maria that we did in episode 294 was angelic and beautiful.
Was it?
Mm. So
wow, don't encourage us.
We're superstars now.
We might do it again. I'm tempted right now.
Do it. Do it. Take your socks off.
No, I didn't paint my toenails.
I had a haunting happen to me after Campfire Stories a couple weeks ago. Not last week, the week before, October 8th.
Oh.
I recorded in a place that I don't really record in, that Campfire Stories. I had stayed the night there, and after we got off Campfire Stories, I kept hearing weird noises. And I was like, okay, maybe it's an unfamiliar place, whatever. I was falling asleep. I'm in bed, and every time I was about to fall asleep, I heard what sounded like someone trying to break open the front door. To the point where questioning myself why I did this. Why do you keep looking at?
Well, I noticed that you moved the candelabra, and I was like, wait, when did that happen?
Oh, yes. Sven needed a better angle.
And it just, in my mind, I was like, I can't believe I didn't notice that the entire time we just recorded a different episode.
And it's because what's different about this picture? That.
Yeah.
You're very observant. Good job.
Thank you. It only takes me about 2 hours to actually be wait a second.
It wasn't there in the last recording.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You did good.
Got it. These things are different.
But to the point where me, probably I shouldn't have done this. Actually, I was fine. But I went and peered over the stairway, which looks to the front door, to see if someone was trying to get into the apartment. Nothing. And I was like, okay, that's really weird. So I get back in bed, and again, as I'm about to fall asleep. And it was happening all night to the point that I was up at 4 a.m. and I was like, well, I guess I'm not sleeping.
I know you texted me. I think I texted back within 5 minutes.
Yeah. I did it again last night. You saw my story that I posted at 4 a.m., but you didn't respond to my DM. So we're in a fight.
Sorry. Honestly, every single night when I check Instagram for 2 seconds, and then the rest of it is me just Googling 4 months sleep regression, 4 months growth spurt, 4 months, when is it over? 4 months leap, 4 months this.
Here's what I'm hoping for you. And maybe this is a manifestation. While you are suffering and experiencing some hardships in the early days of motherhood, maybe your teen years will be so easy and blissful, and Noah's going to be the kindest little teenager. He doesn't fight with you. He doesn't get in trouble.
The thing is, he already is. He's
a teenager?
Well, no, I mean, he's already so smiley and cooey, and he's he wants to be the easiest baby. It's just
other things
that are out of his personality and control that are making it hard.
But I mean, I think as a mother, you will have a great and easy, smooth sailing. That's the manifestation I'm putting out there.
Or maybe I'll be absolutely panicked that they can now drive, and oh my God, the fear of what are they doing?
Well, Corinne, you have anxiety. So yes,
I know.
You will experience that.
I think I've had it since I was 3 years old.
And you can call up Auntie Sabrina, Witchy Sabrina, and be like, hey, can I borrow some of that clonazepam you've been raving about?
I need some pills.
I need to try some pills.
You want to have a pill party where you just supply me with your anxiety medicine?
We do not, what's the word? Condemn? That's not the
condone.
Right word. Condone. Condemn.
No, we don't.
Condemn them to
hell.
We
condemn the people who have pill parties. We do not condone
I pill party drugs. By myself. I solo pill party.
I barely take Advil. And I am the person that you learned about from your guidance counselor in middle school that said, if you take drugs, you're probably going to die. Because guess who's allergic to literally marijuana?
You.
Me.
Maybe Noah will be too.
Maybe he will. If he's got my allergies, that kid can't.
Which it feels like
can barely pop a Tylenol. So,
well, we started here with ghost stories. I don't know how we got to allergies. Oh, being awake at 4 a.m.
Oh, yes.
But we're going to continue with ghost stories.
Yes, we are.
Also, your hair looks beautiful. I meant to say that to you
Really?
earlier,
Thank
and I was
you.
just admiring it, and I
Well,
didn't
it's
say
because I
anything.
didn't have time to shower today, so I said, you know what? Let's just throw a straightener in my hair and swirl
It looks
these
good.
hairs around. What's left? I got to take a picture and show you how much hair I lose every single day in the shower. It is unbearable.
It looks healthy.
I'll show everyone the bald spot. It's on the other side too. It's
I
huge.
have that though too.
No,
Yeah,
no.
my hair does that.
This is
naturally.
crazy. I have the Nutrafol.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I don't remember where I put it though, so I got to hunt it down because I got it, like pre-got it, and then
You haven't
Summer.
taken it? Today, actually last night as I was going to bed, because when we do recordings early in the morning, I wake up
Mhm.
at like 6. And I was like, granted I didn't sleep last night, but when I was going to bed, my plan was I really don't want to wake up early and have to like do my hair because it was greasy. It was like at that point where I need to shower and wash it. So at like 3 a.m. I got in the shower and I just like took my hands into the water and like ran it like briefly
Just the
through
roots?
the top roots. I don't think it worked.
That's an interesting approach. I've never heard someone do that instead of just like dry shampoo.
I don't have dry shampoo. And also dry shampoo, I don't know. Props to you if it works for you. It does not work for me. It makes my hair greasier.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, because it weighs it down. Like you're adding
Yeah.
more stuff into your hair.
I also think my hair, it takes a long time to get greasy. But I did just put a gloss in it so it got greasier quicker. And once it gets greasy, it's like I have to shower and wash it.
I wash my hair every day, which I know they say you're not supposed to, but otherwise I think I'm super sensitive to smells and I don't want my scalp to smell.
That you have shared this with us.
Okay. I also wash my feet. And someone named Jake sent us an email. This is my pivot.
Is it about washing feet?
Called a story I'll call The Gatorade, the Bar, and the Closet.
Oh my.
To the dearest matriarchs of the macabre and mysterious.
Who, me?
Triple M's. My name is Jake. Yes, you can use my name. I must be honest, I'm a bit contested on whether to share this or not. Whatever it was had such an oppressive effect on a couple of years of my life. Alas, here we are. And this is a long one.
All right, Jake.
But hoping it's worth the time that it takes to read it.
Buckling in.
Oh, yes. I'm hoping that sharing it with the intent of not keeping it so bottled up will help me move past it. Thank you for providing a platform for myself and others to do exactly that. This experience has haunted my memories for years. Growing up in a pretty privileged area of the Chicago suburbs, suburbs, everything should have been fine. My parents were married before I was born. They're still married. We never really wanted for anything. But the other side of that coin is that so many people in my town seemed pretty fake to me. It felt like this Hallmark movie, picture perfect. And if you were not part of the in crowd, you were quickly pushed to the side to make way for those that were. Unfortunately, being the weird autistic kid didn't contribute to any degree of social success here. Ever since I was in first grade, before I was even diagnosed, the other kids could sense that I was different. Everyone from the naughty kids to the preppy popular kids would take shots at me daily as if it was the cool thing to do. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's so sad.
Over the years, this consistent feeling of being othered by my peers led me to develop a disdain for those around me, and I lost a lot of faith in humanity. I lost the faith that I would ever find happiness, and I just kind of gave up. At many points in my childhood, I remember being in my bedroom alone with the windows closed, the blinds would start swinging slowly back and forth, or a pile of CDs, remember those, LOL, would be pushed over and topple off of my desk onto the floor. And there was a time that my parents told me that the Gatorades that were downstairs are for school lunches only. Don't take them to drink around the house. So as a bit of a daring kid, I went around and I decided to grab one with the intention of sneaking it up to my room. Oh, a special treat. What flavor are you, Jake?
What are you?
I'm a yellow Gatorade. I'm a yellow Gatorade when I'm sick and a red when I'm not.
Oh. Red tastes like syrup to me.
It does taste syrupy.
But I like blue.
Blue tastes almost like it's forgetting flavor for me.
Oh. I will confess I'm a blue Powerade Zero gal, and I still drink them.
Oh, wow.
I crave them. Yeah.
It's an interesting move.
I know.
Well, Jake is craving the Gatorades in his childhood home.
Back to the story. Back to you, Corinne.
As soon as my finger touched the Gatorade, I heard a crash upstairs. My picture in the hallway with nobody around it had fallen off the wall and shattered. I had a couple of good friends that I stuck close to, who were the kids of my mom's friends and who went to different schools. When I came out as gay, things seemed to get even worse. I secluded myself away from most people around me, even my family, and I found solace in music and other tasks that I could do alone. After high school, I went away to the National Guard to find a sense of self-worth and purpose, and I found exactly that.
Aww.
And things were going well. However, when I got home from basic training and intelligence school, things took a turn for the worse.
Oh, no.
I went away to a college in Western Illinois. I joined a fraternity to find some friends, and I started performing my music for crowds around the state. To the eye of many others, I was happy.
I feel like all of my reactions in this story are going to be like, "Aw."
I know.
Oh.
Oh. Jake, you're bringing us through a lot of emotions here.
We should get like a sound effect machine and just, instead of me talking.
Em and Christine have that.
Really? Do
Yeah.
they? When you're reading a story, instead of my reaction, I'm just going to press buttons.
Aw. Like the crowd. Aw. And then there's the applause.
Yeah.
To the eye of many others, I was happy. I would go to a local venue during the day when it was empty to get on the stage and practice my performance, program the light shows, and just get some alone time. This building was a former hotel and then a funeral home, and now it was a concert venue. And I always got the feeling that people who spent time there during their lives and or died there never really left. Often when I was practicing alone in the main room, which usually held a couple thousand people, I would hear chains rattling on the locked doors.
Oh.
I'd hear knocks, footsteps, and the like. And at first this scared me, but after a while I started to get used to it, and I guess I was just a little more sensitive to the paranormal than I thought. One afternoon, I was programming a light show, and I heard people coming into the room upstairs, which was for smaller events. I kept to myself as I usually do, but then I heard more and more people arrive. It was this, how do I say this word? Raucous?
Raucous?
Yeah, what is it?
Ruckus.
Ruckus.
No.
I've like never seen
it
written out, so now I can't remember how you actually say it.
Raucous? Ruckus.
Okay. Raucous chowder in the chowder.
Clam chowder. The raucous
There's
clam
creamy chowder. Or chatter. Sorry, chatter. And then
How long did it take us to figure out how to say that word? And I still don't remember it.
We should leave that in.
Yeah.
Struggle. Jake, use different words for us.
Insert synonym here.
Loud chatter. And the typical bar sounds like stools sliding around on the floor, glasses clinking into each other. And after about 45 minutes of this party upstairs, I realized that there was no music going on. And knowing the speaker system upstairs was a bit confusing to operate, I figured I would head up and check it out. As I walk up the stairs, the sounds got louder and louder, as if I was approaching and about to peek around the corner and see all these people and see what they were up to. The noise was almost deafening at this point. However, the exact moment that I turned the corner, all the noise stopped as if someone had just hit the mute button and there was not a soul in sight.
This reminds me of that story we read where someone was at like a work building in England and they heard a party and saw like people in 1920s clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the building had like housed a party before the people who were on the Titanic left. Do you remember that story?
Yes, I almost forgot that one. Well, I didn't forget it, but I almost forgot that it was from the podcast. It almost feels like it was in like the Twilight movie or something. The Twilight movie. You know, Bella, Jacob, and the Titanic. It all just goes together.
What are words?
I came to find out later that not only was the upstairs area where the funeral gatherings were held in the past, but it was also an event room at the old hotel. Apparently, a pretty well-known ghost hunting squad with a TV show went there, set up their cameras, and when the ceiling fans were going on full speed, they would stop abruptly and start turning the other direction. And they also heard these girls dancing. They expeditiously packed up all their stuff mere hours into the investigation and left. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention the dancing girls. The supply room for the DJs was through the upstairs bar and in the back rooms where the hotel rooms were. Still the room numbers on the door as the concert venue. If I needed a cord or something in the middle of the night, I would have to run up there and I would often hear these little girls dancing around and singing as many others did who
twins?
dared. At the end of the hotel hallway, all work and no play makes Jake a dull boy.
Jake?
He sent in the email. It's Jack in the movie, but it's Jake in this email.
Oh, I was like, are you having another? We do not share the brain cell right now.
Alas.
One of us has it.
Yeah,
Sven has
nobody has it. It's floating somewhere. I went on a walk around the block.
I needed a break.
It's like I cannot handle the weight of you two any
longer.
longer.
So annoying.
Oh man,
we're still on the first email.
I know. I lived with a couple fraternity brothers during this time, and they were a couple of the first good friends that I had in college. I stayed in the back bedroom, which was at the end of the hallway from the living room and kitchen area. And the reason I bring this up is I would sit in the living room couch, and I could see right down the end of the hallway and to my bedroom door. In my bedroom was a large walk-in closet that seemed to have this like really weird energy emanating from it. My bedroom was spacious and it was comfortable, but whenever I would walk into the closet to grab a shirt or anything, this sense of dread would overcome me that was so powerful.
Oh.
It was hard to even put the feelings into words. I tried to write this story down a couple times in the past when I was still living at the apartment to document it, but whenever I got to this part of the story, I would get the sense that something was looking over my shoulder at the computer screen, and I would get that same feeling of dread. So now we get to hear the part that Jake wasn't able to write.
How did you finally write it?
I think he moved.
Oh.
One day, after living there for a couple months, as I was in a dead sleep, I woke up. I looked at the clock. It was 3:07 a.m. For about a month straight, I would be awoken every night, either by nothing or to the sound of my name being whispered exactly at 3:07 a.m.
Jake.
It got to the point where I was up at 2 a.m. or whatever. I would purposely stay up past 3:07 and then I would go to sleep so I wouldn't have to go through this terrifying experience every night. And it only got worse. When I would be alone at night in the apartment, several times I could swear I saw shadow figures walk across the hallway, out of the bathroom, and into and through my bedroom door. But whenever I shifted my gaze to try to figure out who I was looking at, the person would be gone.
Sneaky bastards.
As a proud nerd, I've been playing World of Warcraft for years, often long into the late hours of the night. And because of the happenings, I got an add-on for the game, and I hid the local time clock so that I couldn't see when 3:07 a.m. appeared.
Smart.
One morning, I woke up at 2:55 a.m. And to try to avoid the 3:07 a.m. situation, I logged onto the game and I started playing. I played for at least a couple hours, long enough that I was surprised the sun wasn't coming up, and I eventually closed out of the game expecting it to be at least 5 a.m. In one moment, I looked at the clock at the bottom of the desktop screen, and it said 3:07 a.m. Chills.
It's so specific.
I then felt a hand grab my shoulder and pull me back, spinning my desk chair around. But there was no one there.
Spinning the chair around.
Yes.
Like face me.
Oh. I went outside and I walked around the complex until the sun came up that night.
Yeah,
Still, nearly every night, I would be awoken to either nothing or to something whispering my name at exactly 3:07 a.m. The climax of it all came one night when I again woke around 2:30 a.m. I turned on a few episodes of Family Guy. I turned my clock around so that I could not see the time. And after a while, I heard something bang into my window like a rock. So I opened up my window, which is on the second floor, by the way. And I looked down and there is a dead black bird on the ground, still twitching, and a smear on the window. I turned around. I saw a shadow figure walk across my room right in front of me and directly through my closet door. My TV then turned off on its own. I turned the clock around for some reason unknown. And it was 3:07 a.m.
This sounds like the smell of possession too.
It does. It also very like Haunting of Hill House.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like trapped in this like different reality and vortex.
Also, I'm surprised how much October episodes have bled into this one.
I know.
Corinne, who are you?
Well, when I was searching for things, I'm like finding these emails. I'm like, I'll read that
what's
next.
This intriguing thing?
A few weeks after that, luckily, it was near the end of the semester and I was moving out. We moved out during the middle of the day and I went into the closet, even in full sunlight, and I felt that same oppressive force that had become so familiar. And I ended up just leaving a bunch of personal belongings in there for someone else to deal with because there was just no way I was willing to go back in there again.
Wow.
Years later, as I felt happier and I started to get my life together more and more, these things have mostly stopped happening. But a few nights ago, I woke up again at 3:07 a.m. and I just turned over and I went back to sleep. It could have been coincidental, but a few weeks ago, I also had a mirror in my room that fell off the wall on its own and shattered.
What time?
I don't know. I have chills thinking about it. I'm tired of whatever it is trying to take over my happiness, and I will no longer let it take control. For all I know, the mirror could have been something completely unrelated. I don't know if these experiences will ever stop. I just seem to have figured out that the happier I am, the less power it has. And I'm fighting it by just trying to be the best possible Jake that I can be. Tears! Hope you enjoyed this story. I look forward to going to a live event one day, meeting you both in person. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to share. And we got some dog tax, of course.
cute.
Pixie the dog.
Oh, little baby.
Pixie the dog. From Jake.
Jake, I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, people are so shitty to begin with. Like, growing up is hard. Puberty is hard. And if you feel like you're not feeling like you fit in with the like I hate using the word like neurotypical, but it's like when it's a certain crowd that has like a certain belief and certain expectations of you. Yeah. Stereotypical. And then you become the person that they all want to bully. Like that. Yeah. It's so incredibly shitty. And I'm so glad that Jake did find things that helped him feel good.
And then some shit fuck entity. Sorry, I don't know why I got taken over like that.
Well, it's upsetting because both the living and the dead are kind of coming after Jake. Are rude here.
And like, get out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake. That sucks. And I was really hoping that it ended with that one place you lived in. And hopefully it was just a coincidence waking up at that same time. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I just decided to pull up that London Titanic episode or email.
Oh, okay, great.
Because we talked about it. And I feel like half the time when we do that, we never remember what episode it was or anything.
You found it?
So I found it and I figured I'll just read it again. It's originally read on Encounters 130, which is the same episode our listener James sent us that Scottish lake boy ghost picture.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That one that has had its rounds on the internet. A lot of people have seen that photo.
So I'll just read the blurb about the haunted London office. I'm very impressed with myself for like remembering the details like that.
I know. Because normally there's been so many emails that we've tried to re-pull to like highlight in certain things and we can never find them.
This came out in 2021. So I'm just going to read the Haunted London office. This is from our listener, Jimmy. I'm a designer living in London and I used to freelance in and around the capital for various brand agencies. I was booked for a contract sketching up a secretive brand identity pitch for the London 2012 Olympics. This particular gig was for an agency based in the Strand, which is a major street in the city of Westminster. And it's built on the river. It's pretty much an old word for by the river. The agency was on a floor of a large building between the Penguin Publishers and the Savoy. Although the design of the studio was a contemporary bright white walled space, the old fabric of the building still remained in places with old polished oak balustrades and beautiful Victorian tiles. Ooh. Very characteristic spaces. And at the time, I wondered, what did those original buildings used to look like? So I was asked to work the weekend to meet a deadline. I was shown a small studio that I hadn't seen before below the main office where I could work in secret. Straight away, the space felt claustrophobic and stuffy. I was completely alone. So I got to work and I let myself out that night. No spooky stuff, but I did have to go back in on Sunday. I got to work the next day really late. I go to the office in the afternoon, typical British weather, overcast, drizzly, and dark. When I got there, the entire building was empty. I walked through the main studio and I couldn't help getting the feeling of a creepy atmosphere. It was the large office with empty chairs and desks with people's abandoned possessions strewn all about. Now that I know what the back rooms is, it kind of has that energy.
Yeah.
I made my way down an old stairway that led to the small windowless office and I began working. I was there only about half an hour when I heard some laughing. I looked toward the windowless door and the laughing stopped. So I carried on. And a few minutes later, I heard people talking and I could hear clinking glasses. Someone was having a party next door. I thought, okay, I'll go out later and see if I could swipe some drinks. Then after a while, I heard a piano playing and the sound of dancing. Sounded more like a party that you would imagine at the Savoy next door. Seemed like an ideal time for some hair of the dog, so I got up, swiped my key card that let me out through a corridor towards the party. As I swiped my door card, I could hear the sounds of the party getting louder and louder. And I was like, okay, I don't really know anyone, so I'm a bit apprehensive, but you know what? A few drinks and it should be all right. As soon as I pulled the doors open, the sound of the party stopped. It's hard to describe the chill that came over me. I stood frozen with disbelief. I was totally convinced I was walking into a room full of people, only to find an empty hall full of old chairs and desks with a computer server blinking in a corner and wires running all over the floor. Immediately, I had the feeling that I was totally alone in a huge, spooky building like the Stanley Hotel in The Shining. So, I literally ran out of the office. Looking back now, remembering myself running out of the office seems totally crazy. But on Monday, I reluctantly returned to the main office, and I described this story to my buddy Nick. As I was doing so, a girl overheard us and excitedly said, "Oh, you heard the guests!" I told her what happened, and she said, "Oh yeah, that room's haunted. No one will rent it." Do you want to know why? Obviously, I didn't, but she continued. Well, this building used to be a big hotel and they had a huge party here. The guests were really posh, but it was their last party in London because the next day they all left for Southampton. They were all passengers on the Titanic. Well, there you go. I still get the chills when I think about opening those doors and the sound cutting off. Too freaky. From Jimmy.
I don't remember what we said when we first covered this, but this is making me curious about like residual stains and if the universe like somehow knows when a tragedy is about to happen and like the moments before people's death is like recorded and
that's weird.
Yeah. Well, because why would everyone choose to go back to that moment and have a party?
Well, okay. I think it could be residual just in the sense that going on the Titanic was such a big ordeal that maybe this like last party before going just had such a resounding energy that left the residual haunting.
Yeah.
That is not an active haunting of a bunch of people having a party, but just such good vibes were being had.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I kind of hope it's that rather than, although.
The Titanic has so many hauntings.
I know. That's actually what I sent you last night at 4 a.m. was the Titanic exhibit. Which
Danielle went.
From National Park After Dark and she is like convinced that she lived a past life and died on the Titanic.
I know. Yeah, I asked her how long it took her because I was like, will I be able to swing going to this exhibit with Noah's schedule? She said you can whip through it. She said she read every single word of every single sign and it took her like an hour and a half to do it.
Okay. So you can do it.
Potentially. The subject line of this next one.
I'm excited about it.
It intrigued me.
It intrigued me as well.
It's called The Chicken Man, Fred the Ghost, and The Living Doll. My childhood home.
You picked 2 stories that have 3 like almost like lion, tiger, and bear. Oh my.
Oh my. Yeah. Clearly that's my formula.
Yeah. That's
Give
how
me
you
the
get
Krabby Patty.
Whereas for me, you get me with demon or like something sexual.
Yeah.
Because I'm a teenage boy.
Like pervy ghost. Demon shows me his genitals and you're like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hello, ghostesses. I'm late to the podcast game, but recently found you a few months ago. I've listened to at least 2 episodes a day at work, and I'm absolutely stoked to have found you. Thank you to everyone who listens at work.
Thank you for haunting your workplaces or your homes.
Exactly.
Or your cars.
I've had so many paranormal experiences in my life, and due to my family's reactions, I've kept it pretty quiet and to myself until a few years ago when I started to be more open about things. I love listening to your podcast. It's made me feel less alone, and you're doing great work, and you're entertaining AF.
My gosh.
I wanted to share my experiences in my childhood home outside of Cincinnati. We moved into the home when I was around 5 and lived there until I was 11 or 12. So where to begin? I guess I'll go in chronological order as best as my memory will allow. One of the most traumatic and memorable paranormal moments in my life was soon after we moved in. I woke up in the middle of the night to the chicken man at my window. He was about as tall as my desk and his head was just above the windowsill. He had a man's body, but what looked like feathers on his skin, human hands holding a stick or a staff, and a beak like a chicken, but an otherwise human face.
We just recorded the episode 296 about the 72 demons of Solomon. Like, why am I picturing one of those demons?
You should flip through your cards and try to find them.
I put them away.
Okay.
To not spook you.
Thanks. I was sitting up in bed and I was staring at this thing, not sure what to do. And then he pointed out the window and started talking to me. He was speaking clear English with a low and fluid sounding voice. When I think about him, I hear his voice and I'm getting goosebumps right now just remembering it.
Jeez.
Anyway, he told me to look at the stars because they were showing me things. What a weird little spirit guide you might have.
Interesting. Man. Well, there is one of the demons that is like astrology based and life lessons. I mean, a lot of them are like that.
And a lot of them did look like birds. So maybe it was. We gotta go back and reference. I was looking outside confused and asked what he meant. And he just kept saying, look at the stars. I was so scared, but eventually I did get the courage and I ran to my parents' room. And that night I slept on the floor next to their mattress. Aww. Another time, the chicken man visited me and he told me, this is like a reoccurring thing.
Reoccurring chicken man.
Yeah. Another time when he visited me, he told me that my mom had been stabbed and was bleeding out. So I ran into my parents' room again and I woke her up. And she was totally fine, except she was annoyed that I woke her up and was very unhappy that I refused to leave the bed for that night.
That's so weird because the first one seems so like,
look at the stars, child.
Your dreams. Look to the stars. Yeah. And then it's scary.
That's how they get you. They lure you in under false pretenses.
Like a Hollywood agent.
Me. Yeah. It's kind of like Peter Pan.
Yeah.
You know, Captain Hook. The Lost Boys? BFG?
I went to, what's that place called? It's like a antique barn. It's the one day that I ran into on the street. Anyway, like every Sunday they have like the flea market, but the house, which is always there, the top floor is just old clocks. Thousands of them.
Kind of creepy, but kind of cool.
It looked like Hook's room.
Oh, yeah. It reminds me of Stranger Things now, too, with Vecna's clock just like chiming. The rest of the activity in my room was eerie, but I don't know if it was related to the chicken man. I sometimes saw a woman standing next to my closet, and I heard footsteps at night. My mom told me that it was blood in my ears.
What?
Against my pillow. I've never heard that as an excuse. Oh, you're just hearing the blood rushing through your body from your ear being on your pillow.
I've literally never heard that ever.
I think your mom has got something going on with her ears, her inner ears.
Or maybe that's what her mom told her when she was growing up about the ghosts.
Yeah, interesting. Don't worry,
or she
guys.
panicked
it's
and was
not paranormal
like,
activity. The knocking and whispered voices is just the blood pumping through your ears.
Yeah, you're just hearing your own blood.
Yeah, that's probably grosser. So then I started sitting up and I would still hear them, only to become more and more scared because they would loudly walk into my room when I sat up. Not the blood in my ears at all.
Yeah, nope.
I had a large teddy bear that sat next to my bedroom door, and on more than one occasion, I saw him get bumped, knocked over, or moved while I was awake listening to these footsteps. And of course, my mom did not believe me, and we got into so many fights about all of this. And at the same time, my sister started sleepwalking.
Yeah,
and we would
all
often,
of this happening in tandem.
It's the blood in your ears. It makes you do weird things. And it would often...
You made a possession?
Yeah, I guess so. It's telling you to go downstairs and hover in front of the blank TV, rocking back and forth for 4 hours.
And eat a snack.
We would often find my sister downstairs in the kitchen in the morning. I was also prone to throwing up in my sleep.
Oh my God.
And would wake up with a cold vomit all over my pajamas in the morning.
That's horrifying.
I think there are possessions going on.
Well, that's also so dangerous.
Yeah. And to not wake up when you're throwing up. Like, it's one thing to like wake up from your sleep because you're throwing up, but to not wake up and just be covered in vomit.
Horrifying.
I literally thought that this was all normal kid behavior until very recently. Doesn't everyone throw up in their sleep as a kid? Oh, well.
How long did this go on for? My God.
I don't know. I had such scary and violent nightmares most nights, which became so normal for me that I still have a twisted sense of what is considered a nightmare to most people. I understand that because my brother and I also experienced that. And when we talked to my dad before about nightmares, we realized like...
But your dad just generally doesn't have like intrusive thoughts.
No, he's just a sweet little, like his nightmare is like, a coyote was chasing you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, mine was like, I watched your fingertips get plucked off and then someone made me eat them.
Yeah.
A little different.
Little bit.
Okay, sure. Yours sounds scary too, Dad. I befriended my neighbors in the following year. Wait, can I just tell you one more thing?
Yeah.
So Noah doesn't let, obviously you know this, he doesn't let anyone feed him except for me. Like Brian, like no one. Mother-in-law has tried. My mom has tried. Nikita tried when she's here. Brian tries all the time. Everyone tries. For some reason, this past weekend, Noah decided, and we think it's because me and my dad look exactly the same. I was just going to say, is this... Grandpa's allowed to feed him. Grandpa's allowed to do anything.
Just put a wig on Bill.
He giggles during the diaper change. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I was like, oh my God, we do need to start putting you in a wig, Dad, because then you could just be full-time nanny here. He's like, your face looks about right.
That's so funny.
Close enough.
Wow.
I befriended my neighbors in the following years as more kids moved into the houses around me. My best friend lived across the street, and one day while watching TV, I saw an old man in a gray suit walk through his kitchen. I asked if it was his grandpa, and he said no, there was no one there except for his parents. And I saw that same man a while later walk from the driveway into the garage, and I ran in to go find him, but the man was not there. I lost track of the amount of times that I saw the same old man just randomly walking around their house, their backyard, the street in front of their house. I started to call him Fred, so that was the name.
I like it. He seems like he's just living there.
Yeah, it does seem like just an old resident maybe who just was
or
going
like
about
a
his
family
life.
member or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting too that it's like not just hanging out like with the family. He's just going about his own routine. Oh, let me go look at the front yard.
Look at the rhododendrons.
Yeah. See if the
How are they
tulips
coming in
have
this
come
year?
up. Oh my God, those rabbits are eating them again. The other kids in our friend group would play along when I said I saw him. And I started to get frustrated because he was real and this was not a game. Yeah. So I decided that I should cast a spell to show him to my friends. Now, this is in the 90s. There's no internet. There were no TV shows that I had access to. But in hindsight, I somehow managed to host a freaking seance on their front lawn.
Sometimes it's just intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's that blood in your ears.
It is.
It's running.
The blood in your ears. It's whispering to you how to do a
telling you what to
seance.
do.
Everyone gathered around. They held hands, repeated a made-up spell of mine, and I was asking Fred to show himself to the group. And it worked.
No way.
Only one girl saw Fred, but she burst into tears upon realizing that the man standing by the tree was none other than Fred and that he was real. Oh, I just got chills all down my body. The scary part for me was that I hadn't realized that Fred had never acknowledged or even looked at me up until this point. But now Fred was staring at me.
He's like, you called?
Yeah. Or like, wait, you can see me? It took a while to calm down the girl who saw him. And of course, my mom got mad at me for upsetting her. What about for conducting a seance on the front lawn? Did that stop us from now deciding to try and have everyone in the group see Fred? No, it did not.
It's like, talk to me.
Yeah, it is. It's addicting. We kept trying more ritualistic things to summon him, and we got random activity like voices, things were moving, a tween girl with brown hair, random kind of activity, but nobody else got the full visual of Fred. Was this smart for a bunch of 9 and 10-year-olds to be doing on a regular basis? No. Did we have parental supervision? Also no. Now, for the living doll.
Oh, I don't like how that sounds.
I know. My bestie was still not a believer in Fred and would often tease me about ghosts and monsters. And one day we went into his basement. He had this large doll that we found in a storage area, like probably 3 feet tall. And he was joking about her being a living doll because she had some ghost trapped in her. And of course, I was not believing him. So what did we do? I decided to do another little kid seance to see if he was telling the truth and see if I could see stuff happen during this. It was just the two of us, and he was laughing the whole time, and I was also kind of half joking about it because I knew he made it up, and we were just these bored kids, and bored kids will be bored kids.
And accidentally create a haunted living doll.
Yep, that is basically the next line. Joke is on both of us because something moved the arm of the doll into an up position. So we both froze, and we waited. I asked if someone was there with us, and then the doll arm went down again, and she fell over. So we hauled our asses out of there.
Over.
Yes. Which does feel like the doll wasn't possessed. It was something like actually like
moving it.
A marionette.
Teasing with
sort
them.
of style, yeah.
Teasing them.
We hauled our asses out of there. We told his dad to put the doll back into storage, and he didn't bring her out ever again.
I like that he listened.
I know. Well, yeah, I think they weren't actively using the doll, so just put it away. You're scaring the neighborhood kids.
The kids.
If I hadn't experienced so much other stuff at this house, adult me would probably just think that it was some wildly strong and well-timed breeze in the windowless basement. But there were too many other things that proved paranormal activity for me to still think that this could have been a coincidence. I still don't think anyone was attached to the doll, but maybe just used it to show their presence. Okay.
Yeah,
same thing.
Agreed.
That's all I'll write about this house, at least, since this is already a kind of long email. When we moved to another house, I was both relieved and a little disappointed at how quiet it was in comparison.
Aww.
I started sleeping a lot better in the new place, and I wish I had this podcast as a young person to help me feel less isolated. I used to check out the Haunted Ohio books in middle school just to make me feel a little less crazy.
Aww.
I still experience a handful of very definitive paranormal things every year, but now I've accepted it and started to just be a little bit more open about it. Thanks for creating this safe and spooky space for us. That felt like a tongue twister to say.
Yeah.
See you on the other side, Katie.
I want to know about the Chicken Man. It sounds like the Chicken Man was
bizarre.
just this one house then. And clearly not good.
And like
especially
hanging out outside the window.
Everything up. Yeah.
Look at the stars and now your mom is dying.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Very creepy. And
I do think you should look to the stars. Your answers are in the stars. I don't know.
But we should look at these demons because maybe we'll find basically the Chicken Man. And maybe it's kind of like one of those things where he has a sphinx, a little pendulum where he's like, oh, astrology, isn't it cool? But I'm also a demon.
Right. We'll take a look. I'll flip through them like a little flip book. See what the demons are up to.
Yeah.
I am glad that moving, though, did get rid of the nightmares and the lack of sleep. What I do think the takeaway from this is, though, is Katie, you're a witch.
Yes.
You had a seance, successful seance, or two at least, at like 9 or 10 years old.
Right. And it just came naturally to you. And you were like, oh, wait, I want to prove that this thing is real. I think a lot of children, like their minds would go to like, oh, we're creating a ghost trap. Like, let's make a box and twig. And like, you know, like you craft these things together. It's like imaginative play. But for Katie, it just came naturally. That was like, well, no, we need to have some sort of atmosphere where we call upon them and summon them in.
Yeah.
We need to communicate with the dead. And that happened to you, Katie, at 9 years old. That's witchy behavior.
That's witchy behavior. That's a cool merch.
Witchy behavior. Okay, we're doing it.
Nose goes.
We will do it.
2 girls, 1 goes.
We will do
witchy
it.
behavior. That's such a good one.
Like
as you smack your
my
teeth.
tooth on that. I have a chipped tooth for the rest of this.
Also, I'm about to get my period, like in any second.
I thought you already did get it a couple days ago.
It's the incoming. But I just, a zit literally formed on my back.
A zit literally formed on your back. I heard as it literally formed on my back. I thought you were like doing like the infant version of a diaper blowout. I thought you were like trying to tell me blood was spewing up your back.
No.
Okay.
As I like spread eagle sit here. No. Thank you for comparing me to a baby blowout. While I am not having a baby blowout, one of our listeners
is
I don't know. That didn't really work. But this is from a listener, Caitlin, she, her. And she said you might want to hold the subject line, but I can't because it's too funny. And also, I am ending with some heartwarming. Possible penis wielder in a past life and more heartwarming stories. As we said earlier, put penis in the subject line and
Sabrina will grab it.
Not the penis.
Yeah, don't actually put one.
Oh, I don't want to grab your penis. Ew. Boys. Okay. I'm a tad bit behind and was listening to your most recent encounters episode of past life and reincarnation stories, and it finally prompted me to write in the one experience I have with a possible past life. So one day when I was either 2 or 4, I walked in on my mother changing my newborn brother. I deadass looked at her and said in the most casual way, I had one of those, but it fell off, as I pointed at my brother's penis. And then I said, but it will grow back someday.
In the next life.
I was referring to my brother's penis. And I remember saying this, so I was probably 4. Apparently afterwards, I just turned around and walked out of the room.
Oh my God.
So was this just a past life moment slipping through? Will I be a man in my next life? I'm happy in my female body this life, so there's no chance that it's this life. Regardless, the story still cracks me up, and I figured y'all would enjoy it too. It's more on the lighthearted side. And my last email was filled of stories of a mimic that tried to lure me out by copying a cat's meow, so I figured this email should be nice and friendly. So for the heartwarming stories, both of these are stories about visits from loved ones who had passed on. Firstly, my grandmother, Dale, or Dada as I called her, was a badass and a red-headed fiery woman. She loved a good wine, Texas wildflowers, and the word spiffy. She always said that I was a woman after her own heart, and she was everything I aspired to be. Unfortunately, she lost her battle with breast cancer that had metastasized into various other places in her body in April of 2015. It breaks my heart to this day that I wasn't able to visit her more in her last days. I hadn't seen her in probably 6 years when she passed, due to me living and having an incredibly full high school and college career. She lived out of state, so it was difficult to visit on a college income level. But she made sure that we would see each other one last time. The night of her passing, I had a dream, or what I think was a dream. Regardless, that night, I was nudged awake by my lovely grandmother, saying that she came to say goodbye. I'm crying while writing this. I got out of bed, fully nude, just as I had gone to sleep. TMI probably, but this is what makes me think it wasn't a dream, but more maybe in the astral realm. I gave my grandmother the biggest hug as she said goodbye. And in this moment, I wasn't sad. I felt peace, like she was simply waking me up before going on a small trip. That next morning, I received the call from my father that she had passed over in the night. I knew.
The fact that she came and visited right away, it was like she passed and was like, hey, I know I have a job to do, and that's to say goodbye.
And I love you. Yeah. I knew the second that the phone had rang that it was the news of my grandmother passing. I told him I knew because she had come to say goodbye to me that night. We just cried for a bit after that. We spread her ashes at the Austin Wildflower Center, as the wildflowers were always her favorite. I got a tattoo in honor of my beloved grandmother, and it includes all of her favorite things: wine, the yellow rose of Texas, and the words, stay spiffy, and the pink evening primrose, a nod to her battle with breast cancer and her love of wildflowers.
The stay spiffy, I love that part too. What a good addition.
Yeah. Secondly was my grandpa Melvin. Now, he was my step-grandpa, but I still saw him more growing up than my real grandparents, as he lived 2 doors down from us. We weren't particularly close, but I enjoyed his company still. And that's just how he came to me in a dream before his passing. My grandpa passed away due to COVID and was in a coma for the last few days of his life. The night before his official passing is when he came to visit me. I was in a giant white waiting room or a museum-like building that had large pieces of artwork on the walls. I spoke briefly with another Melvin that I knew from life when he led me to a little cafe. There, sitting quietly, was my grandpa Melvin. It's almost like context clues being given to make sure she knows it's him.
Right. Which is, as you were saying this, not to diverge, I'll be super quick, but remember, I think it was like Corinne part 1 or whatever when we recorded that. And I was talking about my friend Sam from middle school who had passed away when he was a freshman in high school. I was in 8th grade. And I had a very specific and weird dream about him that made absolutely zero sense to me. Yeah. But it was all specific clues for his parents to know that it was a visitation.
Like spot on. Yeah. It is wild. There was my grandpa, Melvin. I sat down with him and we honestly just sat there in silence for a bit. Then he flashed me his famous crooked smile and that was it. The next morning is when I yet again got the call that he had passed. Our encounter wasn't very much, but it was very fitting for our interactions in life. It was his way of telling me and the family that he was okay. I don't believe anyone else was visited by him, but my dreams have always been slightly prophetic, so maybe I was the easiest to contact. His funeral was one of the hardest I ever had to attend, mainly because of COVID and not being able to hug my grandmother on the hardest day of her life. But these dreams felt so real to me, as most of my prophetic dreams do. I'll write about more of those sometime. I thankfully only seem to predict happy moments apart from these 2 instances of people passing. But they still were happy moments for me that I treasure deeply. I hope y'all enjoyed these stories. Give Leia treats for me. Corinne, congrats to you and Brian on baby Noah. Motherhood is a terrifying concept to me, but you seem to be handling it well. I'm so proud of you.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
From Caitlin, she, her.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Caitlin, clearly there's so much love within the family too, but like beyond that, it feels like Caitlin has this ability to be an easy channel because there's so many people that so badly want to be visited by their loved ones. And it seems to come a little bit more with ease for Caitlin.
It does.
There's this access point where it's just people can kind of pop in and be like,
hey. I'm curious about the other dreams that Caitlin's had because is it all family? Does Caitlin get dreams about strangers? Because like these 2 dreams I would say are visitations. Where prophetic to me, my brain goes to like telling the future or something to come.
Yeah, ominous warnings.
But it sounds like they're all good. But I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, you owe us another email.
Yes, you do.
More
Caitlin.
homework.
And all of you owe us emails too because we know you're haunted. And we have heard from so many of you that you have ghost stories and that you have not emailed them to us. So this is your sign. This is your call to action. Please email us any of your paranormal encounters to 2girlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com.
You can check out our Patreon. We have a live campfire stories that happens every Tuesday night where we bring people up to tell their ghost stories live. We have additional episodes that are posted only on Patreon, merch discount codes, discount codes, social media, Discord channel,
YouTube.
Oh yeah, if you want to watch us, we've got a YouTube and
look at our sexy studio.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. You don't want to miss out.
And thank you to our editor, Jamie Ryan, for editing and producing our episodes. And thank you to all of you for coming back each week.
We will see you on the other side.